Good day everyone. So today we're going to continue our discussion, exercise number 7, which is external features and mouth cavity of frog or toad. So introduction is frogs and toads are commonly used laboratory animals in general and introductory zoology. They have many similarities to higher vertebrates both in form and structure. Objectives: identify the external autonomical structures of frog. Identify the parts of the mouth or a vocal cavity of the frog. Secure a covered container to place the live specimen. Your is so internal vertebrate or external features and mouth cavity of frog toad opens in the buccal cavity, which is wide, large, and shallow. It comprises a ciliated columnar epithelial lining, which has the mucous glands, and these glands secrete mucus which aids in food lubrication. The frogs do not have salivary glands. Muna siya ang mouth cavity of the frog or toad. So, frog is characterized by having smooth and slimy bodies. The common Philippine frog, Rana vitigera, abound along aquatic or swampy areas. So, ang frog is the tailless amphibian with a short squat, body moist, smooth skin, and very long hind legs for leaping. So mauna siya ang frog. Muna siya ang frog inyong makita. Next is toad. Toad is characterized by rough skin with numerous wart-like irregularities. The common toad, Bufo marimius, is terrestrial in habitat. So, ang toad definition is a tail-nosed amphibian with a short stout body and short legs, typically having dry, warty skin that can exude poison. So, ang kaning toad is mo ni siya ang makahilo nga paka. Then, ang kaning frog example is kaning frog nga usa is kuan ni siya mo ni siya ang paka nga ginakaon. Kani nga paka ang makahilo, mo ni siya ang paka nga makahilo. Next is determine the sex of your specimen by observing these features. The first finger or the male frog or toad is swallowed during the breeding season. For amplexus, it binds further inward, making a sharp angle with the palm. The male frog or toad that has dark pigmented areas at the angles of the lower jaw on the lateral side of the mouth cavity. The male is generally smaller than the female. The second characteristic is the most reliable within the restful to show. So, maila na to ang paka nga babae ug ang paka nga lalaki. Kay ang paka nga lalaki is mas gamay siya kaysa babayi. Then, ang paka nga lalaki is kuan siya, na iyang pigment is dark ay siya kaysa babayi. Ang pigment sa female nga paka is dili siya dark. Then, ang sa male is dark iyahang pigment sa iyahang kuan area at the angle. Dayon ang paka nga lalaki is mas gamay siya kaysa paka nga babayi. So, there are external features of the frog or toad, which is axial, snout, external nares, nictitating membrane, orbit, tympanic membrane, and parotid. So, ang axial is composed of the head and the trunk together with the indistinct neck. So, ang axial is region composed of the head and the tongue. So, ang axial siya is muna siya ang head and the tongue. Frogs do not have neck to connect its head to its trunk. So, walay liog ang frog nga mo connect dito sa iyahang trunk. The following are the structures found in the external anatomy of the head, snout, nostrils, or external nares. Nictating membrane, eyes, and tympanum. So next is snout. So the snout is the triangular anterior tip of the head. So the snout is the part of the face at the front. Ang snout is dapit ni siya sa atubangan sa naong sa frog. The tail, if any, is not counted, nor is any producing teeth or tusk. So in a frog, it is the length of the frog's body but not the frog's legs. So kaning snout is lawas ni sa paka dili paa. For tortoise, carapace length is the length of the shell. The plaster length are used or ang PL. Next is nictitating membrane. So, next is external nares. Two small opening near to the tip of the snout. Next is nictitating membrane. So the nictitating membrane is the transparent covering of the eyes which serve as the third eyelid. This protects the eyes when the animal is underwater. The upper eyelid is a fleshly, immovable upper fold of skin on each eye. The lower eyelid is a narrow semicircular lower fold on each eye. So ang nictitating membrane is part from the eyelid. A transparent membrane called the nictitating membrane is present in amphibians such as frogs. It helps in protecting the eyes of the amphibians from water and mud while swimming in water. It also helps in keeping the eyes moist when the frog is on land. So kaning nictitating membrane is mo siya ang mo-protect sa mata sa mga amphibians dito sa tubig. So while mag-swim sila, so ang ilang mata is i-protect sa nictitating membrane. So mo ni siya ang nictitating membrane. Ina na siya mo na siya ang nictitating membrane. Next is orbit. The orbit is the socket in the skull which hold the eye. So ang orbit is there is another example of nictitating membrane. The nictitating membrane is the red-eyed tree frog. So has a spectacular tiger stripe design which camouflages the bright red color of the eyeball without compromising the frog vision. Just like our eyelids, they serve to protect the eye underwater and keep it moist on land. Kani mo ni siya. Kanang tiger ang porma, muna siya ang nictitating membrane. Kanang maklaro siya nga red, nga daw ga-cover sa imong mata, muna siya ang nictitating membrane. So ang orbit is eye sockets, pair of rounded prominences, internal or posterior nares. Frog can breathe through this with its mouth closed. So makabreathe ra ang frog bisan pa og naka-close ilang mouth kung nagnaa sila orbits or eye sockets. Next is tympanic membrane or eardrum, a circular area on the skin located directly behind the eye. So kani siya behind ni siya sa mata. So ang tympanic membrane is a thin membrane behind the frog's eyes that separates the outside from the frog's inner ear. It also converts vibration in the air to vibrations in the fluid. Narins believes that the Odorrana tormata develop ultrasonic communication because of its loud environment. So mao ni siya ang tympanic membrane. Kana siya. Muna siya ang tympanic membrane sa frog. Next is parotid. Parotid or poison glands is two large swellings one on each side, just behind the eardrum. So ang parotid gland is an external skin gland on the back or neck. Nana siya sa likod or nasa liog. And shoulder of toads and some frog and salamanders. Nana siya makita sa likod or sa liog sa paka. It can secrete a number of milky alkaloid substances. known collectively as apoptosis, which act on neurotoxins to defer predation. So next is thoracic or chest region, the anterior half. So the thoracic is duct, also known as Van Horn's canal, is the largest lymphatic vessels of the lymphatic system of the body. It is approximately 40 cm in length in adults and approximately 5 mm in width at its abdominal origin. The thoracic duct extends from the 12th thoracic vertebra to the root of the neck. So, mauni siya ang thoracic trunk. Kana siya. Kana siyang makita. Muna siya ang thoracic trunk. Next is ang lumbar. Lumbar or abdominal region is the posterior half. Ang lumbar tongues are paired lymphatic tongues that join to form the cisterna chyli, forming an integral part of the lymphatic system. The lumbar tongues carry lymph from the infraumbilical abdominal wall, pelvis, and lower limbs. So muna siya ang lumbar tongues. Next is the appendicular, composed of the limbs, forelimbs, and hind limbs. So upper arm, ang forelimbs is the upper arm limbs are upper extremities that the forelimbs of an upright postured tetrapod vertebrate extending from the scapulae and clavicles down to and including the digits, including all the musculaturies and ligaments involved with the shoulder, elbow, wrist, and knuckle joint. Next is middle forearm. Next segment immediately below the upper arm. So ang the forearm is the region of the upper limb between the elbow and the wrist. The term forearm is used in anatomy to distinguish from the arm. Next is appendicular. Appendicular skeleton is comprised of the upper and lower extremities, which include the shoulder girdle and the pelvis. The shoulder girdle and pelvis provide connection points between the appendicular skeleton and the axial skeleton to where mechanical loads transfer. Next is carpus. Carpus is next to the forearm. Carpus is the group of small bones between the main part of the forelimb and the metacarpus in terrestrial vertebrates. The 8 bones of the human carpus form the wrist and part of the hand and arrange it into 2 rows. Next is manus. Manus is distal to the wrist. Manus is the terminal segment of a forelimb corresponding to the hand and wrist in humans. Next is fingers. Fingers are 4 slender jointed parts attached to either hand or rake her hair back with her finger. Next is hindlimb or thigh. The thigh is the first segment attached to the body mass. So the part of the human leg between the hip and the knee, the corresponding part in other animals. Next is shank. Shank, a person's leg, especially the part from the knee to the ankle. The old man's thin bony shanks showed through his trousers. A long narrow part of a tool connecting the handle to the operation end. Next is tarsus or ankle. The tarsus is the segment immediately next to the shank. The joint between the tibia and fibula above and the tarsus below is referred to as the ankle joint proper. Next is pes or foot. Pes is the Latin or forefoot, is the zoological term for the distal portion of the hind limb of tetrapod animals. It is the part of the pindadactyl limb that includes the metatarsals, and digits. During evolution, it has taken many forms and served as variety of functions. Next is web. Web is a membrane extensions of the skin connecting one to the other. Web is a network of fine threads constructed by a spider from fluid secreted by its spinnerets used to catch its prey. A complex system of interconnected elements. Next is sulcus, mouth cavity. Open the frog mouth by bending the jaw for back cut the muscles at the corner of the mouth if so directed. Sulcus Sulcus marginalis. Sulcus marginalis is also known as spur marginalis or rumus marginalis. Is the extension of the cingulate sulcus posteriorly separating the paracentral lobule from the precuneus of the parietal lobe on the medial surface of the cerebral hemispheres. Next is median subrostral fossa. Median is three pits are situated at tip of upper jaw just near the premaxillary teeth called fossae. The middle one is larger is called median subrostral fossa while other two are smaller and is called lateral subrostral fossae. Next is we're going to continue our discussion. Exercise number 7, which is exercise number 7 is the external features and mouth cavity of frog or toad. So, median subrostal fossa, a depression at the middle anterior portion of the sulcus marginalis. So, muna siya ang median subrostal fossa. Next is a fulvinar rostral is a slight elevation on each side of the median suprapostral fossa. So ang fulvinar is the largest nucleus of the thalamus and has strong connectivity with the visual cortex. The pulvinar is a purotypic association nucleus that participates in reciprocal cortical interactions and promotes synchronized oscillatory activity in functionally related areas of the cortex. Muna siya ang pulvinar. Ang pulvinar is muna siya ang largest nucleus of the thalamus. Next is lateral subrostral fossae. Lateral subrostral fossae is the two depressions of the sulcus marginalis which are adjacent and lateral to the pulvinar rostral. So, ang lateral subrostral is present in the maxillary region of the jaw. So, makita na to na siya sa maxillary region of the jaw. They are elevation which help in closing of the mouth smoothly. So, makatabang na siya sa pag-close na to sa tuang bakbak. Next is vomerine teeth. The two teeth like prominences between the two conii. So, ang conii is an opening at the back of the nasal passage. There is a left and right side. So, ang conii is na siya left and right side that empties into the space behind the nose called the nasopharynx, where the adenoids and eustachian tube are. The passageway continues down into the back of the mouth and into the throat. So, ang conii is, it helps us to sa pag-open sa ato ang back nasal passage. Na siya left and na siya right side. Next is eustachian tube. Vomerine teeth are located in the facial bone as vomer. Diri na siya sa atoang gidiriang kaning mga ngata. Vomerine teeth are two rough bumps on the roof of the frog's mouth. So, ang vomerine teeth is two rough bumps on the roof of the frog's mouth. This function is holding and capturing prey frogs. Tongues and vomerine teeth operate together to capture and hold prey animals from being able to fly. Muna siya, oh. Kung makita ninyo mo na siya ang vomerine teeth. So, ina na siya ang forma. Next is Eustachian tube. Eustachian tube is the large opening on each side at the posterior angle of the lower jaw. It leads to the tympanic cavity. So, ang Eustachian tube is close to the angles of the jaw are two openings on each side. So, ang kaning Eustachian tube is kuan siya. There are jaw nga two openings on each side. These are the Eustachian tube. They are used to equalize pressure in the inner ear while the frog is swimming. So, ma-equalize ang pressure sa imong inner ear while ikaw ang while ang frog is langoy. Next is the lower jaw is the lower jaw of frog forms the rigid rim of the mouth's floor. This bears no teeth in the toad and the common frog. So ang lower jaw diri is another definition of lower jaw is frog's skull is broad and flat. Muna siya. Encasing and protecting the brain. So, ang lower jaw is mo siya ang mag-protect sa brain sa frog. And it uses in mandible. Lower jaw and the maxillary teeth of its upper jaw to hold onto prey. Next is tuberculum prelingual. Tuberculum prelingual is the single elevation at the tip of the lower jaw. This fits into the median subrostral fossa when the mouth is closed. So, another definition is tuberculum prelingual is an elevation at the tip of the lower jaw. Prelingual fossa differs on either side of the tuberculum prelingual where the pulvinar rostral of the upper jaw fits. So, mauna siya, oh. Muna siyang example sa prelingual fossae. Tuberculum prelingual. Muna siya example. Next is prelingual fossae. Prelingual fossae swallow depressions on each side of the tuberculum prelingual. This receive the pulvinar rostral of the upper jaw. So, ang prelingual fossa is depression on either side of the tuberculum. Prelingual where the pulvinar rostral of the upper jaw fits. Tongue occupies the central and greater part of the floor or the oral cavity. So, mauna siya ang prelingual fossa. Next is tongue. The tongue is the muscular organ which occupies the greater part of the vocal cavity. Attached in the front, free behind. So, ang tongue is used in adhesive tongues to capture fast-moving, elusive prey. So, for this, the tongue are moved quickly and adhere instantaneously to various prey surfaces. Muna siya. Next is laryngeal prominence, a rounded, somewhat elevated area posterior to the free end of the tongue. So, the laryngeal prominence is a cartilage, supportive and protective structure with no district. However, its location sits between the internal and external branches of the superior laryngeal nerve of the vagus. So, ang location sa sa laryngeal prominence is between the internal and external branches of the superior nerve. Dito na siya na butang. Next is glottis. Glottis, a seat-like opening at the middle of the laryngeal prominence. So in other term, glottis is a opening on the floor of the pharynx. Is a valve that controls airflow in out of the respiratory passages. So ang glottis is siya ang nagkontrol sa hangin pagawa sa respiratory passages. The voice box occurs in amphibians but is anatomically most complex in frogs. So kani nga picture mao ni siya ang diri na to makita kung asa dapit nakabutang ang maxillary teeth, internal nares, vomerine teeth, tongue, opening of stellation tube, opening to vocal sac, external nares, upper eyelid, entrance to esophagus, and glottis. So naa diri nimo makita. So that's all for exercise number 7.